show that to him.
Suzanne Moore.
How you doing, sir? How's your leg?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Transportation Committee meeting of November the 13th, 2007. We have Councilman Savoy and Councilman Kent Shakespeare that are not in attendance at this time. I understand that Mr. Shakespeare is on his way. I will now offer up a prayer, and we will do the pledge immediately following. Father God, we do thank you in this month of Thanksgiving for all the many blessings that we have. We thank you for the opportunity to serve you. We thank you for the provisions to meet the needs in Ascension Parish. We thank you for the wisdom to carry out those decisions. Lord, we thank you for our soldiers that are abroad. We ask tonight that you keep them safe and bring them home quickly. And Father, as always, we ask you to secure our gates and our borders with your glory. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a public comment period that anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item may stop off at the Secretary's desk here and sign a card, and you will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. To my knowledge, we have no 2/3 chair additions. Mr. Bob, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. We have no presentations. So we will discuss item number 6. Mr. Bob, we welcome an update on our parish and state roads.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What I'd like to do, normally URS had been giving this, and so I'm giving it instead at this point, and I'd like to do it in two areas. I'd like to speak to where I know that the state projects are, and then I'd like to speak to the parish projects. Good news on the state side is that they're really doing a great job out here on LA 74. They're moving right along. We're extremely pleased with the progress that they're making. This coming Saturday, they will be closing 74 for a period of time from November 17th to November 22nd to replace the existing culverts under 74 at the intersection of Chester Diaz Road. And there's a signed detour that will divert traffic to allow for that to take place. In addition, the state has just recently taken bids on the resurfacing of Airline Highway from Perkins Road to East Baton Rouge. They have not analyzed those bids, but I would anticipate they would accept those. That work will be very similar to what they recently did going south at that location on Airline. The other area that I'd like to, the other route that I'd like to talk about just very briefly is LA 44, where we have it closed for the bridge construction on Panama Canal. That project is moving along. The bridge is substantially complete. There's some additional utility work that is preventing him from opening the road back up to traffic. It's not completed by any means, but the bridge is essentially done, and they will be able to open that. I would expect them to be opening that early in December, this December. The other thing that is of interest to the parish, the state is currently advertising for a consultant to do what's called Stage 0 work on I-10 from Segan Lane to LA 22, which would include the potential interchange at LA 74. which is very desperately needed by the parish. So we really wish them well, and as this comes along, we'll try to be more and more involved in that, have some input into that study to encourage that. Clearly, I-10 is a extremely congested corridor in this location, and so I'm really pleased that the state is trying to address that issue. Then I'd like to address the parish projects. One of the things that I guess I want to say at the outset, I'm really very pleased with the consultants that were given the projects on the 2007. As you recall, that was a rather large project for the parish. It was approximately $11 million worth of work that was distributed among 3 different consulting engineers, GSA, Volker, and PEC. And I'm very pleased to tell you that as of this date, we have received plans from all 3 of those firms. So this is a project that is hitting the ground running, if you will, and we're moving forward. In fact, on the agenda tonight, I have 2 of those plans that I'm asking for your approval of and authorization to take bids. So they've done an excellent job on that. Specifically on other projects, you've got a handout that I've given you that's got various things, and I'll move through it pretty quickly. I know we got a long agenda tonight. West Worthy, we're continuing to try to acquire the remaining right-of-way. We have appraisers currently working that project right now, and we've staked the project, and the appraisal process is beginning. On the 2004 intersection projects that's currently under design by GSA, we've got as you recall, we split that into various phases, Phase 2B, Phase 2C. We're getting extremely close on both of those. We're ready to begin the right-of-way acquisition on Phase 2B. On Phase 2C, we're working with DOT on the permit conditions. Boutreau Road, as you know, we've let a contract on that road. We held our pre-construction meeting the first of the month. Construction began November the 5th, and it's a 225-day contract set for completion in June of 2008. The Joe Severio Road, very pleased that we've got that under contract now. We held our pre-construction on it in early November. Construction will begin early next week, a 225-day contract that will complete in June of 2008. In addition, we bid and we designed and let our in-house project, 2006 in-house project, and that's now under contract. And so construction began on November the 12th, 150-day contract for completion. The contractor's R.J. Daigle. That particular project, not only did we design that in-house, but that was one that we always intended to inspect in-house. So that's the one that our inspectors are working on, and I feel really good about that project. The 2007 in-house, we're approximately 40% completed with the plans for that. So we're not quite as quick as the consulting engineers that have theirs ready to go, but we're right behind them. And so since they have a rather large firm and we have Jackie, she's done a wonderful job, and she's pretty well keeping up with everything, and I'm really proud of her. The 2007 PEC contract, they submitted plans to us on October the 24th. We held a review meeting on November the 12th, and we're ready to ask you to approve those plans and to authorize bids. The 2007 program under GSA engineers, very similar situation. Well, they submitted plans to us on November the 6th. We reviewed them. We sat down with them and went over those plans, and on November the 12th, and the extremely minor changes, and so we're also asking for that to be approved and authorize the taking of bids. The 2007 intersection improvement project by Volker, those were submitted for traffic studies to us on November the 6th. We held a review meeting just today with them and working out minor details. This one's going to take a little bit longer because each one of them is going to involve fairly complicated traffic studies, some of which will involve the state. If there's a state road involved, those traffic studies will have to be submitted to the state for their approval and their recommendation. So we're moving right along. The other item, the 2007 striping project, the contract has been signed by the parish president. We should see that activity out there on the street fairly quickly. Pretty long, comprehensive list, but it's essentially all good news, and we're moving forward. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Bob, I do, I'm trying to go back here on my notes. On the state project, is our TV station going to carry the closure, or are we going to really post that out there for 74?
Yes, we are. It's our intent to do that so that the public is aware of that.
Right.
And Ozzy will get that on there for us.
Okay, that was one question I had on that. On the intersection improvement program, I know that that's more than just intersection, and I have two roads in that particular area, Tiggy Duplessis and Duplessis. I would like, if possible, for you to keep me posted on exactly what they're going to do to those two roads, because I know that they're sort of unique. They're real narrow. I know that we're not really widening them. We're just trying to make them safer, and I'm not exactly sure what's going to be done. I'd like you to keep me.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. They are both unusual roads. Quite a bit of traffic on them.
Right.
Tiggy Duplessis has Duplessis has a lot of sharp curves, 15-mile-an-hour curves, and no shoulders. So those are difficult roads, but I will keep you informed as to when we go how we go forward.
Right. We had talked a while back, because I had some residents in that area that was concerned about putting a stop sign at Ridgeway and Duplessis to kind of help break the traffic up a little bit, and I don't think that we wanted to go there at that particular time, but in the light that they're going to make this road a little safer, it will also increase the speed.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we would like some kind of mechanism to, if that's sort of a midway point there, that would kind of, the residents have asked for a stop sign in that area. Okay. So would you look at that again and see?
I'd be glad to do that, and if possible, would ask Suzanne to put that on the agenda for the next meeting, and we will address that.
Mr. Lambert has some questions.
Yeah, Mr. Bob, I don't see it on the agenda, but since we're talking about the parish roads, the two bridges on Roddy Road that's supposed to have been done early summer I haven't seen any progress moving on them, and that one of the bridges are in real deplorable shape right now.
Yes.
It's busting up real bad where they put some asphalt on it. So I'm just wondering where we at on these two projects, because we approved them to go box covers, I believe. And
yes, and I apologize. I should have included those in my list. We are moving forward on those. I have been working with GSA. We've made a plan-in-hand check on both of those locations. They had a fairly comprehensive set of plans. We had some very minor revisions on those, and now they're working forward to determine the right-of-way needs. So it is moving forward, and the projects.
Timeline?
Pardon?
Any timeline on when we're going to be seeing that construction start?
Plan.
Mr. Chance, do you have any?
No.
Can you help us out here?
Mr. Chance was the one that we did the field check with, so he's probably extremely knowledgeable about that.
We have in fact completed the right-of-way requirements on that, and I believe they were submitted a week or so ago, and which we also addressed all of the plan in hand comments on that at that time. We have completed specs on it, and we're doing some final modifications on the box culvert details, which should be submitted to Bob by the end of the month.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chance.
Mr. Chance, before you leave, you said by the end of the month you're going to submit
Final plan.
the final plans. What kind of timeline
Construction.
for the construction of this, and how
construction
soon
will
can
be
we
totally
expect?
dependent upon right-of-way acquisition and utility relocations. So, I mean, once that's done, then we would be ready to proceed to construction.
And have you estimated for the utility locations? Because that's something I've got to talk about later on in the comments
no, ma'am,
here.
we have not,
But the reason I'm asking is because I believe that there were some roads that were held up in the 205 project because of utility relocations. I mean, if we know that we have utility relocations, then we should be able to give some kind of estimate that they can meet our schedule and not us have to meet theirs. And so, you know, that's something that I'd like to see that y'all address, because putting in box culverts should not be this difficult. I've got a contract in my files that says we pulled them out in March of '06 from the Roddy Road project to do not to do culverts, but to do bridges. The timeline in the contract said 2 months to design. We requested in May of last year that the bridges be done by June the 1st of this year, that we would actually start construction of the bridges by June the 1st and have them completed at the school year. And I mean, here we are, and we still haven't got those completed. And this is in, you know, councilmen's districts that they're concerned about the bridges, and we're concerned about the delays for the school kids, etc. And so if the utility companies would cause us even more delays than we have already to do now just box culverts that shouldn't take longer than, you know, I would think 4 to 6 weeks at the most. I just want to make sure that we know that there's a plan, that we need to get these done, that there's a plan to do them and a timeline. And so if right-of-ways and utilities are a problem, I'm wondering why we didn't get some of these things lined up already.
Well, right now, our contract does not include the utilities nor the right-of-way acquisition. So, I mean, that was part of the area that the parish was doing in-house, and I mean, I can't answer you because it's not part of our contract.
That's your department, Mr. Bob.
We have not done, since I have been here, utilities, and we're working on West Worthy on right-of-way, so we're just getting our, we're slowly getting into right-of-way acquisition, and I don't have a staff person that does that at this point. Everything must be done by contract.
Okay, well, we'll talk more
Yeah.
about the utility
Yeah.
stuff.
I think it's an area we need to address.
Right, and
Yeah.
we're going to address it a little bit later.
And
Mr.
yeah,
Lambert.
one thing, the width of these culverts were designed and known about a year and a half ago, as far as how wide we needed to put them. The width was no problem. So we've been knowing if we had a right-of-way issue a year and a half ago. So that's why, if it wasn't in your contract, like I said, it might have been an administrative, delaying this project. So we need to address that, Mr. Bob, if we can. I know you probably wasn't here when this started, for sure. So.
No, and I understand that, but at the same token, I certainly appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
Since I've been here, we have pushed forward on a number of projects that have been delayed in the past, and I'm kind of pleased with the list of projects that either we've got under contract or ready to go, but this is one that we've got to push on and move forward, and I will do that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
Morning.
Sure.
Yeah, Bill, I'm sorry. I got Bill Brew on my mind here, but I want to also put in a thanks to IEA Drainage for the work on Highway 74, because we had some large box covers we had to change out there, and I mean, everything is on a timeline, so put in a special thanks to them, also, and to your department too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you
Shakespeare.
very much. That was, by the way, that was the biggest box culvert that the Public Works Department ever set.
Yeah.
And they did it really very quickly and very professionally, and I'm very proud of them. They did a great job. Thank you very much for your comments.
Yes, I thought it was a warehouse whenever I saw it. Thank you, Chairman. Bob, question, 44 Bridge and Road. I mean,
Essentially,
I know you hadn't been asked that question yet.
well, I did give a little report on it.
Yeah, you
But
missed it.
the bridge is essentially done. It has some minor work on the rail to be completed, but there are some utility conflicts with the pipeline that was holding them up. But they're working their way through that. And the last word that I had in talking with the area engineer and the project manager was that they would be able to reopen the road in early December. So previously they'd told me near the end of December, but it's moving up. So I expect in the next few weeks that we'll see that road open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've impressed on them every time that I've talked to them the need to open that because of the number of people that need to have access to that. If you drive, and I know you do, drive 22, the congestion caused on 22 as a result of 44 being closed is significant. Backups occur every evening at the interchange of 22 where it separates, and it makes it a very difficult situation.
Yes, and also emergency vehicles do not have
Absolutely.
access, and that's the big concern right now. So
Yes.
we want to make sure. And word had gotten back to myself that it was about 2 weeks from now. So that's about, but that was about a week and a half ago. So
Yeah, I'd gotten it kind of the first week in December or so.
Okay.
So that's still kind of the 2-week timeline, but it's longer than your 2-week
okay,
period.
yeah, we're used to 2 weeks. Okay.
That's kind of like saying it'll be tomorrow, but
Right.
tomorrow never comes. Every day's tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. If keep on top of it and let us know. Thank you.
Yes, I recognize how important that is, and I've emphasized that to the state on numerous occasions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bob, for that update. And I just want to commend you on these packets that we have tonight. This is very impressive, and we appreciate all the hard work that you have put into making sure we were informed about the items on the agenda.
Thank
And
you-
Ms.
thank you
Toussaint,
very
we
much.
Thank you for being here tonight to bring us this stuff.
Thank you very much.
You may take item number 7 also, Mr. Bob.
Thank you. Item 7 is a request for speed limit reductions and traffic signs, and I'll go down the list, and it's our recommendation that these be approved.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Mr. Bob, if it's okay. I've talked to Mr. Bob before the meeting started, and all of these approved by DPW, and all had petitions that needed petitions. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve A through F as a consent agenda. If anybody has any questions, we can pull or talk on any one of them.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert and a second by Kent Shakespeare to approve all of item number 7 as a consent agenda item. Are there any objections?
I think we should name them, though. We should.
You want to read them all?
Yes, please. I think.
Okay. Mr. Shakespeare would like them all read. So A is the stop sign for intersection of Santa Fe Trail and Overland Trail. I believe that is in Prairie Oaks. B is a 4-way stop sign at Dutchtown Crossing Avenue and Babin Mill Drive as recommended by DPW. C is a request for a speed limit sign and children at play sign on Delat Road from Councilman Shakespeare. D is a speed limit reduction in Lakes at Ascension subdivision from 25 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour. This is from Councilman Savoy. E is a speed limit reduction at Lakes at Sanamo from 25 to 15. Again, that seems like the same one. Is it a different one, Mr. Bob?
One's Lake at Ascension, one's Lake at Santa Monica.
That's two different ones.
Lakes at
Other
Ascension, okay.
One's Lakes of Ascension, the other's Lakes of Santa Monica.
Lakes at Santa Monica. Okay, F is speed limit reduction in Pin Oak subdivision on Misty Oak Court from 25 to 15 miles an hour. Councilman Hillensback. Councilman Schicksnada.
Real quick, Mr. Bob, on the Delat Road
Yes.
sign, one of the things that they had requested is that it would be at the very beginning of the road because that was the only spot that someone could turn around on. There is no turnaround there. And so, and they also have a house with children that's right at the beginning, and usually they put it further down.
Yes.
So they wanted to make sure that it was at as close to the beginning of the road as possible.
Okay, we will do that.
Thank you.
Any objections? No objections, then this motion passed to be sent to the full council on the first week in December. Item number 8, Mr. Turner.
Item number 8 has a lot of sub-items to it, and we'll probably end up having to go rather slowly through it because it has a lot of issues and a lot of items. The first item, item A, is the monthly road report that we send to you. We have also, since we didn't have a meeting last month, we've included both September and October in that report, and essentially I can read each one of these items. You have it in your packet. Essentially, we're maintaining a reasonably good schedule on cutting of the grass, the spraying of the roads, and the maintenance of the ditches. In September, it was almost 15,000 feet of ditches were dug. Over in October, we did over 30,000 feet of ditches that were dug. So I think the department is doing our maintenance work very well, and so we're moving forward with that. One of the things that I will tell you, we're acquiring a pothole patcher that will enable us to better maintain our parish roads. In addition, it's going to include the ability to do crack sealing. And so crack sealing is one of the issues that we really need to do in the parish. I think it will go very forward in saving our roads and holding the base together so that maybe we can get by with an overlay instead of going into extensive repairs. So we should have that on board shortly, and we intend to have that truck out there on the road a full day, every day that we're working.
That is something that this committee was really kind of passionate about early on, and so we're glad to see that that is progressing. And we thank you, Mr. Bob, for getting that together for us.
Thank you very much. It's my passion also on that. Item B is this is one that, and it's a rather thick item, but back in August, we talked about the increase in traffic in the parish, and I think Chairwoman Fontenot asked that these traffic counts be presented to the next Transportation Committee, which is what I'm doing. In summary, traffic clearly has increased in the parish almost uniformly, a minimum of 25% increase. The volumes of traffic is 25% greater than before Katrina. It was that this additional traffic has hastened the need for our road improvements. Essentially, we need to address intersections, make them more efficient, make them synchronized so that they work together on traffic signals, provide turn lanes that enable people to get on and off the roads quickly. And so that's what these traffic counts continue to tell us. Certain areas are standing out. Of course, LA 42 has got in excess of 20,000 vehicles a day. LA 73 right at I-10 has over 30,000 cars a day. So clearly some of the congestion that people are seeing as they go to work each day are are proven out by all of these traffic counts, that traffic is there. And we just need to find ways to get the most bang for our dollar and make improvements that significantly allow the traffic to move better. Be glad to answer any questions.
Councilman Lambert has a question.
More of a
Todd
comment.
Lambert.
Mr. Bob, I've worked with Mr. Representative Mert Smiley on this project. He's got on the books about 13 to 15 intersection improvements that the state could really get on real quick with a little bit matching funds from the parish. I don't know if you've been working with Representative Smiley on it, because he has them laid out, and it would make a big improvement and get the flow of traffic in these intersections moving,
Yes, I've worked with Representative Smiley on these. He came to me with a list, and he asked me to look at it, and I agreed with virtually all of them. In fact, between the two of us, we were able to add a couple of more. I made some cost estimates, and just recently he's taken those forward to the state when the legislature goes back into session. I fully expect us to be in a prime spot on making a request for state funding on that.
Great.
And at that time, I will be coming back to the parish and asking for state or matching funds to that project. But this is one of the best ways that we can get more bang for our buck.
Real quick.
Rather than spending 100% state or parish funds, if we can match state funds, we'll significantly increase the amount of work that we can do on these intersections.
Correct.
He's done a wonderful job.
I'm glad you're working with him. Thank you.
Mr. Bob, going back to the intersections, that's one of the things that we've been concerned about too. We know that we have some good intersection projects that's been out there since 2003, and they're moving rather slowly. We need to really try to get those particular ones done. As far as the matching funds, sales tax have been up right now. If you can get the council, obviously maybe the new council in the early part of next year, a figure, maybe they can get that included or get some money dedicated if they have a figure to dedicate out of excess monies, so that we'll have a fund. It's already dedicated to roads, but dedicated particularly for, so that it's set aside for those particular intersections that Mert has.
I absolutely agree. The reason I had not discussed this earlier was that it was still in a formation stage where everything was kind of tentative, and so I was hesitant about bringing that forward. But as these get firmed up and we start, it looks like that we're going to really be in line to actually receive the money, then I want to be talking to the council regarding
And that's
sources.
why we really need to have a plan. And I think this year, Mr. Shakespeare, that the money, the excess money is not in our budget to go to roads. No, it's not. So we really need to stay on top of that. And it would help, because if we do have money going in another pot, and we know that we have a certain amount of money, then we can really dedicate, or you guys can really dedicate it to make sure that we get these turn lanes, because they are, I agree with Mr. Bob, very important. You may continue, Mr. Bob.
Item number C, as you recall, we did the 2006 project in-house. We took bids on it, and it was placed under contract. And we do have a change order we want to bring forward. The work has actually just started today or a couple of days ago. And but one of the things that we would like to do, Annie Oak Drive was not on the list previously, and that road has just literally fell apart. And so we really see a strong need to add Annie Oak Lane to our list.
So move, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare to add to the 206 in-house road list Annie Oak Drive. And is this the amount that's going to take to add to the contract?
What we've done is in the process, we've looked very hard at other roads, and we were able to make some minor design changes and essentially save the cost that it takes to do Annie Oak Drive, And the net result is that we're only asking for a $2,000 change order increase in the
So
contract.
are these change orders, is this change order going to coincide with the road, or do we need a separate motion for that?
I would like it to be together if at all
Together.
possible.
Altogether.
Then we will add Annie Oak Drive, that's the motion, and an amount of $2,016.35 to the cost of the 2006 road project, in-house road project. Any objections? There are no objections. This can move to the full council on the first meeting in December.
Thank you very much for that. Item D, as you recall, we have a number of companies, number of firms that are approved for task orders, and even though they may not have work assigned to them, what this is a pre-screening, if you will, of various companies. And we have 5 that we would like to bring forward to you for your consideration. I'd like to go down the list. Evans Grave Engineering is a long-time engineering firm that was quite seriously considered for one of our road projects, in fact. So they're an excellent firm. We'd recommend they be placed on our list.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to approve the task order contract for Evans Graves Engineers, Inc. Any objections? There are no objections. Move it to the council.
The next item is Promo Engineering and Surveying. It's a surveying company, again, a longtime company. I believe it's located here in Ascension. I need to quickly look at that. But it's an excellent firm that we would also like to have on our task order for opportunities to do surveying work for us.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Dempsey Lambert and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert to accept the task order contract for Primo Engineering and Surveying, LLC. Any objections?
No, I mean, he's from Baton Rouge. I mean, he is listed here, Baton Rouge.
Okay.
I don't know where he's from. That's fine.
No objections? This can move to the full council. Thank you.
The next firm is also a surveying firm. This surveying firm is in Ascension
So moved.
Parish, Earls and
Second.
Associates.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare to approve the task order contract to Earls and Associates for surveying services. Any objections? There are no objections. It can move to the full council.
Item number 4 is a task order contract for GSA, and I have to tell you that I'm a little bit confused as to whether or not this is necessary or not, but I guess I feel like the appropriate thing to do is to err on the side of being conservative. Currently, the inspection of Joseph Barrio and Boudreaux Road is in their contract. That was a part of the original contract. However, I feel better if it were stated as a task order specifically assigned to them to do this work. Again, it's a debate as to whether it's needed or not because it's in their current contract, but I would feel better if it were more out in the open and stated as such.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert and a second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare to approve a contract, a task order contract with GSA to inspect the projects on Joseph Barrio and Boudreaux Road. Any objections? There are no objections. This can move to the full council. Thank you.
The next item is the use of URS for project management. Like we were speaking to the utility committee, the need for the expertise that they have on a number of contracts. I would like
So
to
moved, Madam
have
Chairman.
them under a
Second.
task order for that purpose.
And you will task them as to what projects?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's just a general task order for project management
Yes, ma'am.
and inspection.
Yes, ma'am.
And who's making the motion?
I mean,
Todd made the
Kent
motion
seconded.
and Kent seconded it. Any objections? Then the motion is that we will accept URS for project management and inspection services as a task order contract. There are no objections. This can move to the full council.
Item E is what I kind of bragged on when we first started, is that our 2007 road projects by the three contractors, the three consulting engineers, they have essentially completed their plans. There are no right-of-ways to acquire. This is fairly straightforward. We're ready to go to press with it. And so we recommend the approval of plans and the authorization to take bids on the 2007 RCO2 by GSA Engineers.
so move.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the plans and authorizations to bid roadway project 2007 RCO2 by GS Engineers by Councilman Todd Lambert and second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare. Are there any objections? There are no objections. Motion has passed and we'll move it to the full council. Thank you.
Item F is also a companion request. The approval of plans and authorization to bid project 2007 RCO1 by PEC Engineers.
So move, Madam Chairman.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Dempsey Shakespeare to, Dempsey Lambert. I'm getting to be like Oliver, they say. Yeah, Oliver. We were stuck in the same traffic this evening. This motion is for the approval of plans and authorization to bid roadway project 2007 RCO1 by PEC Engineers. Are there any objections? There are no objections. The motion passed. Move it to the full council. Thank you.
Item G was a request that GSA provide us with a project schedule for the completion of the 2007 projects, and they have done that, and I have given you that copy. And as you can see, they are ahead of their schedule at this point. So I'm very pleased with this. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have. It's my intent that we stay on top of all of the contractors and to assure that both the design consulting and the contractors themselves complete the contracts that they've entered into with us for that timeline. And so we're working very hard to do that, and so I feel pretty good about that.
I thank you for getting this. I think PEC had given us in the past, and I believe even Volker also, and we were only waiting for this one, and we do appreciate it, Mr. Chance. This does give us some guidelines. Thank you so much.
The next item is Westworthy improvements, and I need to kind of explain. As you recall, Westworthy, we've got a road project that will make improvements on Westworthy. That's currently under contract with GSA Engineers for the design. They have completed the design, and so the parish is in the process of trying to acquire the right-of-way. The right-of-way acquisition process, unfortunately, is rather lengthy. I'm just amazed at the number of steps that it takes to buy right-of-way here in Louisiana. And so we are working our way through that process. However, we've got a real sense of urgency, and I need to publicly apologize to the council and to the public for not reacting quicker. We've had the bridge. The bridge had failed, and the bridge closed. We had to close the road, and the road has been closed for a period of time. And I had felt like that we could expedite the reconstruction of that bridge by declaring it to be an emergency and going out for a very quick contract. And I failed to know at that time that we had a bid limit on a project. of $100,000 that had to be bid. So I could not go out and negotiate directly with a contractor, nor could I declare it to be an emergency. Parish Attorney Ricky Babin clearly stated that he could not support it as being an emergency because good example is the 44 bridge is affecting a greater number of people, and it was not deemed to be an emergency. And so as a result, I think I've delayed by trying to do it expedited. I think I've actually delayed the contract. So when I realized that I need to do something, the logical thing to do was to go back and ask GSA to pull the bridge part out of the project, design the bridge itself, and get the road back open while I'm still trying to buy the right-of-way on the project. And so that's where I'm at today, is asking your approval of a supplemental agreement with GSA in the amount of $34,750 for them to separate the bridge out of the West Worthy project and to proceed to take bids on that as quickly as possible. We do not need to buy right-of-way in the vicinity of the bridge. We will keep the bridge within the existing right-of-way, and if we do have to improve the channel and widen the right-of-way, we'll do that with the road project and not with the bridge. So we'll have the road back open. And again, I apologize because while I was trying to expedite this, I think I actually delayed this. Had I asked you to do this at the outset, we'd be a lot further along than we are now.
Mr. Bob, this is something similar that we did with the 2 Roddy Road bridges. Okay, we pulled them out of a road project and we made a contract. And in that contract, we stipulated that it would be 60 days to design. And we're over a year past that now, and that hasn't been completed. So I guess my question to you is, if we're going to make an agreement that we specify how long it's going to take to design it, and that we hold somebody's feet accountable, because just like you said, we're past time to get it done. It's something that needs to be done. We don't need this bridge to fall in the same category with the Roddy Road bridges. And so I want to make sure that we do that in this contract so that we do not hold this thing up. And one of the things that I'm going to ask you right now is, have you thought about culverts, in this particular thing? Because we went and had the 2 bridges designed at Roddy Road and came back and said, well, no, we can put a culvert there, and then we had to go through the redesign period. So in order to avoid that, I'm asking now, is that a consideration? Because
I had originally conceived that it might be possible for us to use box culverts and actually set those with our own forces to do those. Unfortunately, the cost of the box culverts plus the labor, equipment, and materials to set those exceeded our bid limit. So I couldn't do those as an in-house project. However, we did look very hard at the designing and setting of the boxes, and actually the type of bridge that we're wanting to put in, we can actually design and have it installed quicker than I can do box culverts. Part of this proposal, if you will look, includes a design to be completed in 21 days. It also, we'll go to bid in 45 days. So I intend to hold them to this schedule and to have them to explain if there's a delay. I want to come back to you and explain that to you, why this delay has occurred. But
that's what I'm asking, that if we make a contract, that we put this in the contract, that this is the timeline schedule that they, have to abide by, so that we can get it done. Because
I think when you make this acceptance of this proposal, those items are in here, and so those are conditions.
That's what I'm asking. Thank you. Need a motion, guys?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Kent Shake Snyder and a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. and that is to do an agreement with GSA to pull the West Worthy Bridge out of the current project and make it its own project with the conditions that timeline and money be included. Any objections? There are no objections. Mr. Zahn, you can move that to the full council. Thank you.
Item number 8I, Delta Testing and Inspection Task Order. This is a task order on our in-house projects to do the necessary testing during construction. The amount of the task order is $19,608, and we would recommend the approval of that.
Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare to have a task order contract for Delta testing and inspection for the 2006 RC01 road project in-house, and in the amount of $19,608. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Any objections? There are no objections. This can move to the full council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This next item is one that I want to give you notice on. Not really prepared to discuss it in detail. I'd be glad to talk in generalities, but if you will recall, at the last council meeting, there was a statement about a claim being made on the 2005 road project. I had not seen the claim at that point. However, I did receive it the next day or so, and we did in fact receive a substantial claim from the contractor for time delays on that 2005, having to do with the primarily with the delays while we decided how to handle the floor light in the roads. We are in the process of looking at that in great detail, comparing days to days, what the inspector said that they could do versus what they said they could do. So at some point in time, I intend to bring that to you and to give you a recommendation. However, at this point in time, I want to make you aware that I had received that. The claim is in the amount of somewhere around $500,000 to $600,000. It's a very substantial claim, and so I'm not prepared to defend, to deny, or anything else at this point other than tell you that I've got it and we're looking at it. Be glad to answer any general questions that you might have on that.
Councilman Lambert has a question.
Yeah, Mr. Bob, since none of us have seen that contract, I think everybody here would like to see that contract. So if you could get all the councilmen a copy of that, because one councilman at the meeting had a copy of that contract, no one else did, and there was some accusations said that was, threats to, complaints and accusing different people of different things. So I think we need to see a copy of it also, what took place, because we need to look at it hard too. So.
And one of the problems that I had with this particular thing is that I had had a meeting with the contractor and was promised a timeline and information, never got it, made phone calls to him, never got the phone calls returned, so I am particularly interested in the timeline and what exactly went wrong, because I made every effort to get it and was not given it, and then somebody else shows up with it. So
if you don't mind, if you will give me the opportunity to discuss this with the attorney, and I'm not saying that I won't give it to
That's
you, but
fine.
I guess I'm concerned about the legal aspects of it. It's clearly, just because somebody gives you a claim for a certain amount of money doesn't mean you necessarily owe that amount of money. So I would hesitate for that to be a public discussion item before we've had an opportunity to determine if it has merit. And so if you will, but I most clearly will give it to you at the first point that I feel like that legally I can do that.
That's fine.
Is that all right?
Thank you.
we thank you for that.
The other one, and I just received this claim again on the 2005 road program from the design engineer, and I just received that yesterday, and that's a claim due to changes in design. They had originally had done a design and felt like it was approved, and the parish came back and made substantial changes and significant additional requirements that caused them quite a bit of redesign work. And so they've made a claim for that redesign time. And this claim is in the vicinity of $100,000, and it's from the design engineer. Same theory holds. I want to just make you aware of it. We'll work our way through that process. It's one of those things that where you have to sit down and say, was Tuesday a legitimate delay, or was that not, and do we count that day? And so it's really laborious to go through that, but it's something that we have to do in order to substantiate or to refute a claim.
Okay.
Again, that was purely for your notice. The next item is speed humps. This is one that is kind of a carryover from some time ago, and we have selected Cobblestone Street to place our first pilot speed hump. It's actually called a speed cushion. The city of Lafayette utilizes this type of speed cushion exclusively. They really like it. I've spoke to their engineer. I have met with the homeowners association in the neighborhoods. They are very supportive of this. The president of the association has agreed that he will take feedback from his residents and feed that back to me so that we might learn whether or not we need to make certain improvements. Today, I was very fortunate that the manufacturer's representative and their engineer came down, and we went to the location, and they essentially thought it was an excellent location, an excellent good test case for us, and they feel very confident that this is going to be a success. And that, again, just notice to you.
Mr. Bob, you know, for several years now, before all this, we were told that they were illegal. You know, we've had many requests, and I've had two particular subdivisions that have requested them, and I'd like you to make a note of them and get with the homeowners association. One is in Magnolia Oaks off of Perkins. It's a little bitty one-street subdivision. It's very curvy, and their children are used to playing, and they would really like some kind of speed hump. They were one of the first to ask. And then Prairie Oaks, I think, actually had a child get hit by a car there, and they began asking, and we kept denying. You know, so, you know, I want to make sure that they're on the list because they did request them. And I can get you the names of the subdivision association people that you can contact them to see if they're still interested.
Yes, if you would do that, we would appreciate that.
I think we ought to just do a request for anyone that does have interest, because I mean I think just about every councilman has someone, you know, has some in there. You know, I just left one just now, and I don't want to get into naming any right now because.
Right. Well, and I understand that, Mr. Shakes. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing these up is because, you know, I did bring it up before this body on more than one occasion, and they were denied.
Right.
So since we have a pilot out there, I want to make sure that these two particular areas are put on the list. And I have no problem with anybody putting, you know, other roads on the list.
We will do that. I do want to tell you that there is nothing at all illegal or hazardous about these speed tables or speed cushions. They are used across the United States. I've used them. I've put probably 100 down in Little Rock, Arkansas. We put them down in Springfield, Missouri. They have been tested. If you drive the speed limit, they really offer you very, very little discomfort. It's if you're speeding down the road as a hazard, then they're going to cause you to jar your teeth when you go over them. But in either event, they will still not cause you to lose control of your vehicle. I think in the past, the reason that there was a concern and whether or not there was a liability was that what we were thinking of was speed bumps, and that's kind of in the parking lot. You go across the parking lot, and you better go about 3 miles an hour across that speed bump because it's so severe. That is totally night and day from what's being installed. What's currently being installed now is a very safe, time-tested, and approved item that will function very well. The only care that you have to use is determining the placement of them. You need to have good sight distance. You don't want to put them in the middle of a curve, as an example. You don't want to put them in an area where there are cars coming in multiple directions, right at an intersection, as an example. You don't want them at those locations. You don't want them at locations where there's an extremely heavy amount of traffic, a collector street, a street that's supposed to carry your traffic. You really don't want them on those type streets. You need to control your speeds on those streets by policemen and by sheriff's officers. And you don't want to put them on very short dead-end streets because generally they're not effective. You've got one person out of the resident that speeds, and somebody just needs to go up and knock on the door and say, "Joe, slow down." And so there is a kind of a science, if you will, to where they ought to be placed. But clearly, I'm hoping that this is an excellent pilot location, that it's a real success, and we can enter into several others after this.
Good job. Thank you.
The next item is Pelican Point Roads, and kind of as an update, Pelican Point, we've got about 6 or 7 locations where we're having some base failures within the subdivision. One particular location on what is it? Patio Court. I forgot the name of it. But on Patio Court, we had a case of where a utility drilled a hole through the sewer line. And as a result of that, we had a significant amount of our base of our road that was eroded and caused significant damage to the road. And we're in the process of repairing that. But actually, it's so significant, we're going to have to get a contractor to re-pour the curb back in. So we're working on that, but I just wanted you to be aware of it, and we're addressing the issue.
Councilman Chexnana.
The other one that's really severe, I went over this one the other day, and it's at Swan Circle. And there's a big hole. There's actually a big hole inside the road.
I was thinking, did you tell Frank about that?
Yes.
Frank told me that there was a place that we really needed to look at, but he couldn't remember where it was.
This has been going on for 2 years.
Okay.
I talked to the homeowner that's right across the way, and he's put a request from 2 years to this past year and so on. And there's very little that I could see that has been done, and the curb is failing there also.
Yeah, is that one of the public streets, or is
Yes,
that
sir.
the private street? See, some are public, some are private. We got to really be careful there. But
I'm not sure.
Let me look at
I'm
it.
not sure.
And I will respond back to you.
I didn't check on that.
Yeah, but some of them in Pelican Point are private. They were never transferred. The maintenance was never transferred to the parish, and so it's kind of complicated on some of those roads.
Well, they have never been told. They have been reporting this for the last 2 years and never been told that is a private one. So,
okay, I will check that out, and I will report back to you.
Yes, and the curb is bad on that also.
Okay.
So it's failed. It's pretty significant.
Okay, clearly, if that is ours to maintain, a good time to do it would be the same time we're pouring the curb on Patio Court.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and of course, if you would check the others, because they're starting to get worse and worse. I mean,
Yes,
it's
sir.
a severe problem.
Yes, sir. Item M is subdivision roads that have been completed and inspected by our inspectors, and recommendations that they be accepted into the parish system for maintenance. I'll read those fairly quickly. Bluff Heritage Subdivision, we've got Bluff Point Drive, Bluff Heritage Avenue, in Manchac Place Subdivision, 9th Filing, River Birch Drive, Midway Avenue, Cedarwood Drive, and Oaks on the Bluff Subdivision, 2nd Filing, Oaks Path Avenue, Lake Path Drive, Vista Drive, and Bluff Lakes Drive. It's our recommendation that those be accepted into the parish system for maintenance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to accept the subdivision roads listed in our packet as item number 8M into the parish system. Are there any objections?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I've noticed a lot of the speed limit signs were missing, and a curve, like a sign for curve, was not posted also. Has those been resolved?
In the subdivisions,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I can't answer that. I will check that out. If we need additional signage for signing of curves or speed limits, we will see that those are installed. Do you have a particular location that you're...
I was looking
Yes.
through at the
It's on the bottom of your
notation.
sheets, Mr. Bond.
There are a
Looks like
couple.
on River Birch, Bluff Lakes.
Oh,
There were some notes that
I
that
see.
Mr.
I
Patrick
see
put
that.
on.
I apologize. We will absolutely look at those and install the signage to make sure those are complete.
We'll add that to the motion that these be accepted in and that DPW take care of the minor problems that are listed on the inspection sheet. Any objections? There are no objections. These roads can go to the full council with that stipulation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passed.
The next item is an item that was placed at the request of Chairwoman Cheryl Fontenot. It's a discussion of inspectors. We've kind of touched on that.
We've kind of touched on it, and I'm not going to be very long with it. I really just wanted to, this is my last transportation meeting, and I want to make sure that the inspectors, that we have inspectors for the 13 million road projects. I think the 13 million includes the 2006 in-house, which you said we're going to do we're going to do ourselves. But there are some projects that are out there now, and we just approved 2 of the plans, the design plans tonight, which means they're going to go to bid. And that means, guys, that they're going to need to be inspected once construction starts. And you know what happened there. So we need to make sure that these things are inspected. Mr. Bob has said he does not have the in-house inspector certified to do this. And so, Mr. Bob, do you...
Well, I've got a little bit of time, and I wanted to come back to you and make a recommendation for inspectors. Clearly, I'm doing the best that I can to get our inspectors certified, and we're making progress. We're moving forward. I feel very comfortable inspecting our 2006 in-house, but as projects get more complicated, I need to really get our inspectors fully certified. Up until the time that we can do that, though, we need to go to either the individual engineering firms that have certified inspectors, or we need to permit URS to furnish us certified inspectors. And I want to come back to you on those projects that are coming forward. I got a little bit of time.
Right, and we did approve a task order
Yes,
for
you did.
URS so that
Yes,
you
you did.
can go out and
Yes.
get an inspection.
Okay.
Yes.
But the other thing that I was interested in as far as inspections go, it has been brought to my attention that we have paid for some utility relocations that we may have not needed to pay for, and that we as a council approved and authorized these payments. And so the question has come up, whose responsibility is it to check to see that the utility relocations, that the work that was described and the amount that was billed to us actually got done? Is it the design engineer or the project manager? Is it the parish? I mean, in the future, we need to to really stay on top of this. But not only that, when it says utility relocations, we have got to get a better system in place as to when that utility relocation is going to take place, because it's hard enough to get our projects going and get them approved and get them under construction, only to be held up because we have to wait for someone to remove their utilities from our servitudes.
That's a problem that occurs across the country. One of the reasons that utility companies, if you will, waits to the last minute is that in the past they've experienced agencies, public agencies, saying, we're going to build this road from A to Z and we need you to move your line, and I'm sorry it's going to cost you several $100,000, but you need to get on with it and do it. And they proceed to do that, and then the agency dropped the project, and so they've spent money that was unnecessary. So they've really balked at being too quick. Clearly, we need to have work with them, and we do a utility coordination meeting where we tell them about projects that are upcoming so that there are no surprises, that they can work those into their schedule and their budget. And we would try to continue to improve that process. The actual relocation of the utilities comes up to another area too, and that's one if the utility is on a private servitude outside our normal parish right-of-way. Then it's land in effect that they own, so when we tell them to move, we're going to receive a significant bill for that, for making that move. If they are inside our right-of-way, which they have the right to locate inside, they also had the obligation to move at their cost when we need to use that right-of-way. So it's fairly complex in that, but we need to be very diligent and perseverance in determining exactly what's out there and who belongs to it, or who it belongs to, and how they can move it. And we will do that. I guess my bottom line on that is ultimately it's our responsibility to see it's done right. We can hire engineers and to design things, but ultimately we need to be responsible for making sure that it's done correctly. And that's one of the reasons that I want to have good certified inspectors. If I have 6 certified inspectors working for us, we can absolutely send them out there to stand over somebody lowering a gas line, and we can see exactly the work that they've done, how long it takes them, and what the materials are. And so when we receive an invoice, we can make sure we were properly invoiced for that it's not something different than what was actually done. So in a summary, I believe that the best thing we can do in order to deal with that is to have good professional staff that monitors the design, that communicates with the utility, that gives the utility factual information as to when we need this, and then have inspectors to inspect the work that they do.
Several of the councilmen that I know, a couple of them besides myself, have been approached by somebody that's concerned about this, and the fact that we may have been overcharged. And when he went to our administration to get the documentation, and he asked for stuff like as-built and stuff, and found out that we were paying invoices that were proposals and not actually as-built. And so, typically when you're doing a proposal, you charge 10% more so that you've got a better figure to deal with. Well, we could be paying 10% more for utility relocations if we don't have a better system, and no one could produce as-built, so we could not find out what was going on at that particular time. He has put together a couple of packages, and I'm going to give them to y'all because he really wanted us to be put on notice. He also gave a something from the legislative auditor that says that he must notify elected officials, and elected officials need to take responsibility once they've been notified. And so that's been a concern. I think he has been working with administration on that part and really not getting anywhere, and now he wanted to step it up and let the council know what was going on. And so, Mr. Bob, you know, that's something I guess that y'all can address in the future. And I just want to, I said I would bring it up for the purpose of making sure that we get a policy in place for the future, so that we do have documentation. See, some of us were accused, at least I was told to, you know, by somebody in administration that I had approved this, meaning that I, as a council, had approved the bill or the invoice. But typically, you know, administration brings it to us and say, you have a bill, and we take it for granted that the work has been done and that everybody has dotted the T, crossed the T's and dotted the I's, and that what we're getting is actually correct, and we only authorize the payment. And so, since this has been brought up, I want to make sure that in the future that we have a way of having administration be accountable to us, to what they give us to pay has actually been done, that the work has been done.
I certainly agree with you. I clearly, when just as tonight, I've asked you to approve several items based on my recommendation.
Correct.
And so I would assume that an invoice would be of a similar nature, that I would bring you an invoice and I would make the recommendation to you that you either approve or deny it. And the fact that you approve it, in my mind, does not shift the responsibility to you from me to make sure I'm giving you accurate information.
Correct.
The other thing is that since I have been here, we've had no projects that have significant utility relocations. Our work has been primarily resurfacing, reconstruction, clearly inside the right-of-way without any major excavation. The two projects that are what I call our big projects is Boutreau Road and also Joe Severio, which did have significant utility relocations on them, and probably are some of the concerns of the individual that talked to you. I cannot speak to those particular projects at all. I mean, we've been working forward, and nobody.
But they have not been relocated yet, right?
No, they're all relocated.
They are relocated.
They're all
okay.
relocated. I have no more relocations.
And so
to
do we have invoices to pay on these, or have we paid them?
Ma'am,
You don't know?
I don't know. And we did get a Freedom of Information request and we're in the process of digging in our past files. Liz is doing her very best to dig out the information, but since we were not here at the time,
Right.
we can't lay our hands on those immediately. But we are working very diligently to furnish that information that we have in our files. And I can't tell you how good that information is, because I haven't went and looked backwards, if you will. I've been trying to move forward. And so
Right.
those are questions that I think that deserve to be answered, and I'm just not able to answer them at this time. I can assure you that as projects go forward, we will be determining that utilities are relocated properly and that we are billed properly, or I won't bring them to you. I won't bring them to you as a recommendation for payment.
That's what I'm looking for right now, is for the future. You know, I'm sure he'll address the past, but I'm looking to make sure that I leave this transportation committee with, you know, with some good things moving forward. You know, so I appreciate if you can, you know, bring back to this council some kind of process that we know that when we approve something, that we're actually getting what we have approved.
Yeah. Now, in the past, since I have been here, a number of invoices come into the finance department, who then in turn turn submits them to me for verification whether or not they should pay them. Since we had URS as our project manager, I had sent those to Ken Israel, URS, and he had between his inspector and they were able to tell me that yes, this is a legitimate invoice and should be paid. And I never gave authority to pay an invoice unless he had looked at it and could assure me that it was a valid invoice and should be signed off.
And that's where I'm getting to, that I want somebody ultimately down the line to be responsible to say yes, the work was done.
Yeah.
You know, it can't be this council, because obviously we can't go out in the field and inspect the work. So we're going to have to take the recommendation from you guys, but we want to make sure that somebody that signs off that the work was done, so that somebody can be responsible if you find out at a later date that it wasn't done.
I agree, absolutely.
Thank you. That's all I have on that item. Muddy Creek, we're going to pass on.
That'd be great.
Mr. Hill,
I can give you some quick advice, or as you were aware, Muddy Creek was concerned about isolating some people, and I was trying to determine if there were other locations, and I took the 100-year FEMA 100-year flood map for the parish and determined that there are a significant number of places that would be isolated. I can't tell you how many people would be in those, but it's a sufficient, significant number. But it's a major problem, and it's not just one location.
We thank you for that information. We also are going to pass on item number 11, which brings us to the December transportation meeting and the future of the Transportation Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Turner and committee members, we will not have a meeting in December unless Mr. Turner has a specific need for us to do so. Our work on this committee, our work as committee members for this year is complete. Mr. Turner, you have already shown that you are an asset to our parish. I leave with the confidence that you will work to see the projects on the table completed. Cinnamon, as our secretary, has done a great job keeping up with the agendas and all the paperwork, and we do appreciate her, and we offer her thanks. And Ms. Suzanne, if you would get that message to her, and we thank you for filling in. I want to thank each of you on this committee for your hard work these last years. We have approved and completed 204 and 205 road projects. Projects totaling over $13 million have been approved and are in the pipeline for 206 and 207. I thank you for the teamwork and the many accomplishments that we as a committee have made, not only in getting projects started, but actually completing some on our watch. Though campaign rhetoric wanted the citizens to believe that we did nothing but sit on this committee, and billboards misrepresented our actions, the record is clear. In intersection improvements to help move traffic, a crack and seal program to bring longevity to our many roads, and a yearly striping project to make our narrow roads safer on dark, rainy nights, are to our credit. You have been great to work with. We will miss Jerry Savoy. We will miss his dedication and his determination to make this place a better parish. He has left our parish with many accomplishments to testify to that fact. We thank him tonight for his leadership, for his mentoring, and for his service. As this is my last night as chairman of the Transportation Committee, I want to thank the citizens for their patience in this process. Ladies and gentlemen, the new year will bring new leadership and new committee assignments. It will be the job of those taking office in January to complete what we have started. Ascension Parish, its leaders and people will always be in my heart and my prayers. It has been an honor to serve you. This Christmas season is upon us. Please be patient in traffic. Slow down. And above all, don't drink and drive. May the gates and boundaries of our parish and its people be secured by and to the glory of God. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.